Namaste. So, very good evening. Now, today is 7th of December. So, it's around 6:21. See, the topic that I have chosen today for discussion is that on 4 stages of ashramas. See, in Hinduism, in the earlier culture, there was this 4 stages of life, and these 4 stages are divided into something called ashramas. So they are called 4 ashramas of life. If let us say life is of 100 years, then this lifespan of 100 years is divided in such a way that we are able to do justice to all these ashramas, all these 4 ashramas. You may ask, why 100 years? See, Kama Sutra talks about 100 years life. Okay, there is another code, a Shastra, a kind of a Bible when it comes to our love life and emotional life. Okay, now that code talks about 100 years. So nowadays even scientists say that there is a possibility of at least living for 300 years. Now, if this so-called life is probed and looked into all its aspects, they say there is a possibility to increase this lifespan to at least some 300 years. So, in the earlier code, this Kama Sutra talks about 100 years. So, in our Hinduism, in our Hindu culture, what they did, they divided this 100 years into 4 ashramas. Now, these 4 ashramas are called Brahmacharya Ashrama, Grihasthi Ashrama, Vanaprastha Ashrama, and Sannyasa Ashrama. See, this word sannyasa, renunciation, is very loosely translated. So, we say he's a monk, he's living a life of a monkhood, right? So, he has become a sannyasa, he has become a renunciate. But then, see how they have done this very beautifully, that they have divided the life in such a way there are no frustrations. They have divided them into 4 stages, 4 different stages of our life. So this which I shared with you, Brahmacharya Ashrama, which is essentially a student life, and Grihastha Ashrama, which is actually a family life, and the third one, the Vanaprastha Ashrama, is that you are giving up this life to the next generation, and then you are going into the forest for the other learnings of your life, right? And then the fourth one is the most important one, is the Sannyasa Ashrama. So Sannyasa Ashrama is tackling for something called enlightenment or self-actualization, self-knowing, self-discovery, knowing yourself, your true self. Now, why they have divided these into these 4? There is a purpose. There is a far bigger principle behind this. See, in Hinduism, there is something called 4 Purusharthas, 4 achievements, bigger achievements of life. So, these 4 Purusharthas are Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Why this life is divided into these 4 ashramas? It is divided into these 4 ashramas because we have to attain these 4 Purusharthas. We have to master these 4 Purusharthas. So these are bigger achievements when it comes to life. One that I am talking is what is called Dharma. Now, Dharma has got many connotations, has got many meanings. There is no one single meaning when it comes to this word Dharma. Okay. Now, Dharma means essentially it means your self-nature. What they say is, what is the dharma of water? That it flows. What is the dharma of fire? that it burns, like that. Okay, so dharma essentially means our self nature, but dharma also has other meanings. Like dharma means a duty, it can also mean a duty. Dharma means a righteous living. So we have to excel at that. This is one purushartha. And the second is artha. Now artha means the economic life is also important. The materialized life is also important. You know, in the earlier video when I was talking about the 4-tier hierarchy theory of Abraham Maslow, the 5-tier hierarchy theory of Abraham Maslow, there are social needs, physical needs, security needs, right? In a similar way, so in this culture of 4 ashramas, they are also taking care of the artha aspect of our life, the economic aspect of our life. But artha also means other things. It does not only mean money aspect or economic aspect. Artha also means learning. Now artha also means meaning. What is the purpose of our life? What is the meaning of our life? So what is the meaning of this purusha? This purusha. Purusha is this conscious being. Okay. Now the last is the moksha. Last is the dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Moksha is the ultimate freedom. Moksha means freedom, liberation. So moksha is a spiritual freedom, self-knowing, self-discovery. Okay, so there are these 4 purusharthas. See, there are purushartha. It's a Sanskrit word. There are 2 words together. So it's a compound of 2 words. Purusha is one word and artha is another word. Artha we also took care of in dharma, artha, kama and moksha. So purushartha. So purusha means in the Sankhya system there are 2 tattvas. The major 2 tattvas, prakriti and purusha, matter and consciousness. So here purusha means that consciousness. So purusha means that conscious being. So purushartha means it is an achievement. What is the purpose of this conscious being? So that purpose is divided into 4 goals, right? Dharma, artha, kama and moksha. And to take care of these 4 achievements, they have divided this 100 years of life into 4 ashramas. Brahmacharya ashrama, taking care of the student life. So we are learning there. And in the earlier culture, the student has to go to the Gurukul. He has to go to a guru. And guru is more, almost all gurus are away from the city. They are not in the town or they are not in the village. They are in the forest. So it is something called a hermitage. It is something called a Gurukul. So they are imparting education, all kinds of education, psychological, physical, moral, ethical, right? So the guru is imparting all this. Now the guru has to be given. Nowadays in the present culture we give fees. So earlier if the student was, let us say, was poor, and if he was or she was not able to give guru dakshina to a teacher, what do the guru says? Guru says, no problem, you learn. First you learn. From learning comes earning. Okay. So you can tackle the earning aspect. That is basically the artha aspect. So employment will come from education and then employment, and then from employment earning. Fine. So Guru says, no problem. You let me impart you learning free of cost, and then you can give me Guru Dakshina later when you go into your corporate life, when you go into your working life, and then you start earning, then you can pay me your Guru Dakshina. So that is how the culture was. So coming to the Grihastha-ashrama, it is your family life. So your working life plus family life. So you are working and taking care of your family, you are raising children, taking care of their growth, taking care of their food, shelter, and then you are also taking care of their education. So Grihastha-ashrama, it is one of the biggest ashramas. So even Krishna talks about Grihasthashrama. He gives a lot of importance to Grihasthashrama. It is one of the biggest ashramas out of 4 ashramas. You talk to any parents, they will tell you their story, how difficult it is. It is not easy, right? We all know. Taking care of the family, going for work every day, attending your office, facing your boss, going into the meetings, doing presentations, all that stuff, attending customers, internal and external, facing customers, all that stuff, earning, coming back home, taking care of children, all that stuff. So it's not an easy job. So it's really tough. So the second ashrama is not that easy one. It's a tougher one. Now comes the third one. Third one is what is called Vanaprastha ashrama. See, prasthan karo means what you say, you come, or हम उधर के लिए प्रस्थान कर रहे हैं. So you are going there. So there are two. Vana means your forest. Vanaprastha means going to the forest. Why you are going to the forest? Now you want to give all this to, let us say, the younger generation. See, if the father is looking after the business, let us say, and if he is not leaving the business, when the child will see the business then? So he has to give up. He has to give it to the younger generation. Then what will he do? Then he will have to focus on other goals of life. So in the Vanaprastha ashrama, they are trying to achieve other higher goals of life from the mundane life. And then the final comes is the sannyas ashrama. So sannyas ashrama is the highest one. It is basically the self-actualization goal. So it is self-attainment, Atma Gyan, you say Atma Bodh, you call it enlightenment, self-discovery, self-knowledge, knowing your true self. So this is the sannyas ashrama. So these 4 ashramas have come because there are these 4 bigger goals: dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Dharma, the highest ethical, moral standard of a human being. See, even in the present corporate culture, we are talking something called principle-centered leadership. Principle-centered leadership. Now what is that? It is the highest code when it comes to, it's the highest standard when it comes to ethics, morality. Right? So when you peep into an organization, you want to see it is backed by whom? Who are the owners? Who are there in the board? Who are the board members? Who is the CEO? So we go into all this to see the strength of that company, the character of that company. And that character comes from the dharma aspect. Dharma is the highest code for ethics and morality. Dharma also has other meanings which I said, a righteous living. And it also means your duty. See, in the Kurukshetra war, what was the conflict there? When Arjuna and Krishna, when Arjuna gave up everything, and then he said that I don't want to fight the war, and his conflict was that I'm killing my own people. Okay? So why should I fight this war? Why should I do this big karma? And then his argument to Krishna was that when I can know myself through akarma, okay, so when I can know myself through inaction, then why are you putting me into this bigger action? Why this bigger karma? So that was the conflict there. So what is that Krishna is saying? Krishna is saying, first and foremost, what is your self-nature? Your self-nature is that you are brought up from your childhood as a Kshatriya. You have learnt the art of fighting a war. And you have also fought many wars earlier. prior to Mahabharata, Arjuna had fought many other battles. He won those battles. Some battles he fought on his own, single-handedly. So he had all those capabilities. And when it comes to his self-nature, as a Kshatriya, is to protect not only himself, his family, his culture. Right? And then Dharma also means his duty. It is duty. As a Kshatriya, it is his duty not to run away from the war. He cannot walk on the path of an escapist. So, responsibility is very important. When we go into the corporate culture, will you say to your boss, you have done your MBA, you have done your engineering, you have done IIT, you have done IIM, and then you are running away. You are becoming an escapist. You don't want to face the corporate culture. And in the name of sannyasa, you are leaving all this and becoming some kind of a monk. Just by wearing props, you cannot attain to monkhood. See, monkhood does not mean self-actualization. Enlightenment does not mean that you are just changing your outer thing, that you are wearing props, that you have shaven off, you have started looking like a monk, and you are wearing Rudrakshamala, you have put some vibhuti here and there, you have changed your clothes, maybe some Bhagwa clothes or some orange clothes you are wearing. So you have changed your whole prop, and then you are calling that you are on a path of sannyasa. Now that is not sannyasa. That is not renunciation. Renunciation, the literal meaning is to give up, right? What is it that you are giving up? You are not giving up your ignorance. You are not giving up your attachments. You are just running away, wearing the robes of a monk, and you are calling that you are on the path of sannyasa. Now that is not sannyasa. So Krishna explains the whole thing to Arjuna. It goes into 18 chapters, and then Arjuna says, now it is very clear. Now I get the clarity. Krishna, I understand. Now I have a clarity why I should fight this battle. So your corporate life, your family life, it is sort of that kind of a challenge. Obviously there are going to be challenges. So escapism will not help. You cannot run away. Where will you go? You cannot run away. So one has to take up challenges. One has to take up this, what I am saying, this responsibility. So responsibility is there in the student life of learning. Responsibility is there at the second stage of Grihastha-ashrama, and then there is a further bigger responsibility when it comes to Vanaprastha-ashrama, and then far bigger responsibility when it comes to Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. So Moksha is the final freedom. Now I have done this video earlier, which was on this Dr. Vijaypad Singhania's earlier thing, that I was talking about his autobiography and incomplete life, and then I have already done that video. So where I was saying that out of love he gave up everything to his son, and then the son has taken over everything and nothing is given to this gentleman, and he was not even allowed to write his autobiography. But then he fought his battle, and then it went to 2 stages at the High Court, and the High Court has finally given the order that he can sell, he can circulate, his publishers can sell and circulate his autobiography. That autobiography was known as An Incomplete Life and Autobiography. So we all know Dr. Vijaypad Singhania's achievements in the outer world, like we talked about, the ashramas thing, his outer achievements we spoke about, that he was a doctor, he has broken 2 aviation records, he was the mayor of Mumbai and all that stuff. and he took Raymond's to this level, which is more than 10,000 crore worth company. So these achievements are there. There is no doubt about it. But then this thing happened, and then in one of the interviews given to India TV, he was saying, these were his words, that मैंने ये सब कुछ मेरे नालायक बेटे को दे दिया. So there I wanted to say something to Mr. Singhania. But you see, Mr. Singhania is Mr. Vijaypad Singhania is a very renowned person. He is elder to me. I am not in a position to suggest something to him or advise something to him. But still I would like to say, see why I would like to say, I will share a small story. Janaka was a king. He was not a small king. He was a very mighty king of his times, King Janaka. And King Janaka is also known in the later part of his life as an enlightened king. In the same way, Chhatrapati Shivaji is known as Jandata Raja, the king who knows. In a similar way, King Janaka was considered as an enlightened king, and his achievement is shared as a reference to other people in life. Now, Janaka had a spiritual teacher. Now, his spiritual teacher was sage Ashtavakra. But when Janaka met Ashtavakra, when he told Ashtavakra that I want to have you as my spiritual teacher, you will be surprised to know that Ashtavakra was a child, a small child, maybe of I think 18-20 years, like that. I am not going into the exact numbers. He was a young boy, and Janaka was a king. But Janaka is requesting him that you please be my teacher, you please be my spiritual teacher. So that story I will share at some other time. So this is how it is important. Learning can come from anything. Learning can come from anybody. We can learn from a beggar. We can learn from an insect. Avadhut Gita is talking about all that. The references of Guru. And let me tell you, in the Avadhut Gita, Avadhuta is also saying that I have learned from a prostitute. Please go and check. So like that. So learning can come from anybody. Learning can come from anything. Younger or an elder, does not matter. And there is a lot to learn from Janaka and Ashtavakra's story. So what I would like to say to Dr. Vijaypad Singhania is whatever has happened has happened. See, he fought this battle of autobiography and he won. Why? Because there was some scope when it comes to freedom of expression. So it was violating the constitution. So he won it. But when it comes to, let us say, his wealth, he has already departed it. He has already given it as a gift, and there are papers for backing it. So I don't think there is any legal scope. They are the people. They know it better. I don't think he can fight a legal matter when it comes to that property thing. Whatever has gone to gone. And moreover, it has gone to his son. So he has to give up. He has to forgive his child. Whatever has happened has happened. Now he has to focus, what I am saying, in our earlier culture of Vanaprastha Ashrama and Sannyas Ashrama. Now both of them, husband and wife, should focus on their spiritual development. See, life is very short. We all know. 100 years we are talking here as a hypothesis. People die. See Jesus Christ when he died. See Osho when he died. So there are many cases. So people die young. Then life is very short. So you have lived your whole life and you have done, your achievements are exemplary. There is no doubt about it. But there has to be, what about then if we go into our culture of 4 Purusharthas, then what about moksha? What about spiritual freedom? So my suggestion there is that both of them, husband and wife, they should now focus on what is called spiritual attainment, self-actualization, self-knowing. See, in the brahmacharya thing, there is something called Brahma. When we are saying student life, we also say celibacy. See, the biggest problem is that we have misunderstood many things and we have given wrong meanings. Let me share with you what do I mean by wrong meanings. देखिए, किसी एक परवट को हम बापू बना लेते हैं, किसी और परवट को हम चाचा बना लेते हैं, जो रियल है उनको हम वैल्यू नहीं देते हैं। हमारे जो आइकन्स है वो रियल आइकन्स नहीं है, वो रियल आइकन्स है, वहां मुझे दिक्कत है। तो ये जो ब्रह्मचर्य को हम सेलिबेसी भी, देखिए कोई कहता है कि ये मेरे ब्रह्मचर्य के क्या है, प्रयोग है, और उस पर्वत को हम बापू बना लेते हैं, किसी पर्वत को हम चाचा बना लेते हैं। They are not the real icons. We have to find out the real icons from our life, and we should not give importance to the real icons. We have to give importance to the real icons. So brahmacharya, there are 2 words. Brahma means antata. Brahma means the non-dual consciousness. Eventually it is that Brahman. Okay, but then we also say one of the Mahavakyas of Upanishads is what? Aham Brahmasmi. I am that Brahma. Means that myself is Brahma. Right? So Brahma also means that self. Yourself and myself. That soul which is there in each one of us. So charya means, we commonly ask, आपकी दिनचर्या क्या है? What is the conduct of your life? What is the routine of your life? So it is in that sense. So brahmacharya means to be in tune with your true nature, to be in tune with yourself. This is the true meaning of brahmacharya. See, all our digital devices are in sync with the servers. If they are not sync with the network, if they are not sync with the servers, what is the meaning of them? They cannot have higher power. They cannot give you higher knowledge. They cannot give you higher insights. All that is coming to you from the network, from the servers. In a similar way, this soul has to be in connection with the Supreme. So sannyasa, when it comes to sannyasa, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving a very beautiful meaning there. So in Dhyana Yoga, in verse 2, Krishna is telling to Arjuna, sannyasa means it is same as that of yoga. It is connecting yourself with the Supreme. So he is saying the true yogi is one who is living, who is doing his actions without the fruit of the actions. Whoever does what ought to be done without the fruits of its action, he is a true yogi, he is an enlightened one. This is what he is saying. Dhyana Yoga, chapter 6, verse 2. So he is saying the true yogi is that one. I spoke about action, inaction, and non-action. I spoke about karma, akarma and vikarma. I also spoke about mindfulness, that it is also doing and it is also non-doing. करना भी मेडिटेशन है, लेकिन अंततः उसका लक्ष्य होना है. दिस इज व्हाट आई से. Being is meditation, but then without doing, how will you attain to being? So karma is needed. Karma is needed so that I can come in akarma. Akarma means without the egocentric action. So when I am doing my actions without the doer, it is akarma. And it is not an easy one. If I have not understood action, I will not understand inaction. And when I don't understand these two, forget about, I will not understand vikarma. Vikarma is something happening. Vikarma is neither doing nor non-doing. It is beyond all. It is beyond both. You may ask me how it is. Earlier also, in the earlier videos, I gave few examples. See, I can eat. It is a karma, right? But the digestion is not in our hands. Eating is there in my hand. I can do karma. And then I can relax, let us say, an hour or two. But then digestion is not in my hand. Digestion, conversion of that food into energies, all life energies, conversion of that food, that energy into blood, bone, marrow, these are all coming from something called vikarma. That is beyond the periphery of karma and akarma. So we always say it is coming from the divine, it is coming from the God. It is coming from that non-dual, Advait. So it is part of vikarma. That's why we say enlightenment is not doing. Enlightenment is a happening. It is sort of a discovery. So when it happens from that vikarma thing. So this is how. So we have what is called dharma, artha, kama and moksha. Moksha is the last one. So this is how there are these 4 purusharthas. 4 purusharthas are 4 biggest achievements, 4 biggest goals. And then dividing this life is of no use when I say it should be a total way of living. I keep on saying outer and inner, there is no conflict. The Silicon Valley is outside. It is on the x-axis. So it is geographic. It can be anywhere in the world. It is in America. In a small mate, it is there in India, in Bangalore, in Pune, in Mumbai, in Chennai, in Gurgaon, in Delhi. So it can be anywhere, it can be tomorrow, it can be in South Africa. So it is on x-axis. So Silicon Valley is on x-axis, it is geographic. But the spiritual valley is on the y-axis. It is concerning with our quality, the height and depth of our being. And it is concerned with moksha, the spiritual freedom and the psychological freedom. Fine. So, corporate life, corporate goals, outer life and outer achievements. There is no conflict. And then inner life, inner space and the inner achievement. Inner achievement is self-actualization. That is the highest. And all these have to be tackled. If you want that no frustration should come in your life, if you want that there should be higher and biggest fulfillment of your life, then we should balance our life. That's why we are talking about work-life balance. Why are we talking about work-life balance? In that Sundar Pichai's video, we talked about those 4 things: work, balls, work, family, health, friends, and then soul. Soul is the ultimate thing, the self attainment thing, and that is taken care of in that fourth ashrama. That does not mean that we should tackle it after 72 years. If 72 years are not there, then what will you do? So it is basically to talk about 4 goals, but you can keep on working during the whole of your life. Osho is talking about that he has become enlightened in just some 21 years. Then so this is how these 4 ashramas are. This is how this 100-year life is divided into these 4 ashramas. And these 4 ashramas are there because there are 4 bigger goals: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So that is it in today's video. I wanted to share the 4 ashramas in the culture of Hinduism and the 4 purusharthas in the Hinduism culture. So that is it. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much. And I will keep on sharing other insights. I'll keep on bringing other topics of interest. Thank you so much. Again, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Thank you.